Okay, Ty, good afternoon, Ty. Good morning from my end here from the East Coast. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. I am Alfonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. We want to welcome our viewers, everywhere you are, Ty, in Liberia, and those of you joining us here this evening. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Right here to broadcasting from Liberian to Massachusetts here this morning. So we want to welcome our viewers. Our team of panelists are going to be joining us here. So just bear with us here as we get this going here. The much talk about issues going to be part of our conversation here. We want to say a big thank you to our sister network, Sky Communications Network, FM in Liberia, in this relay as we broadcast this editions of the Liberian War Today. The Liberian War Today is an informative news program bringing you news, information, and out of the major happenings in Liberia, other parts of the world, but more emphasis, we look at what is happening in Liberia. Our intent here is to create a conversation, thereby you, all of us in the nation can be informed and be able to make informed decision. Not to bash the government, not to bash the opposition, but to stand in the gap as we intercede, those of us in the media industry, to create a talking point that is necessary to keep the nations informed and be able to make an informed decision. Folks, welcome. I'm Alfonso Z. And so our team of analysts is going to be here this morning. On my end is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here, a little after 4 p.m. in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia. I'm Alfonso Z. And so, okay, as you may know, one of the consequential and the talking point in Liberia is the national census, the fallout, the implications, what it means. We're going to be talking that here as well. Views and opinions going to be expressed. Those views, and also you, as our listeners and viewers, you also have the right. However, views, opinions expressed on this network does not in any way represent the views and the management of the staff of the Liberia Public Radio, but we do facilitate this hard-called conversation. Joining me from Atlanta, Georgia, is LPR senior analyst Amos George, and the rest of the crew going to be here this morning here. You know, the change of time has created a lot here. But before I bring in Amos George here, let me give my take here on this whole census, my own views, and I'm going to do a connection here with our neighboring country, that is Ghana. Why it is important that we should do census and we should figure out as a people, as a nation, the necessity involved in having this census, national census, which determines the populations of our country. Should we just only be focusing, or should we just be whining because elections is around? This is something, it is on its obligation, we as a country, to know the update, the status of our country in terms of its population, the growth of the country, or whatever is a decrease. And that has to do with regional area as well, not just only the capital, the entire country. And this is why it's important. But bear in mind, the last time around, the sitting president of the Republic of Liberia, Judy Bryan, he went to Maryland County. He didn't care his voter, he didn't care his ID card. So he was never registered, and so he never participated in the elections that brought in Helen Johnson Sirleaf. How can that be? Such an important figure, prominent citizen, knowing fully well, left Monrovia, went to Harper to register, no ID card to validate if he is Julie Bryan. Here we are again, history rewriting and repeating itself. The sitting president of the Republic of Liberia is currently out of the country for 52 weeks. He's not in the country. However, they declare census to go ahead. How can you have those who are the numerators and they are not paid to even go ahead to numerate people? And so that was the case. How he could possibly, if he intend to run to participate in the process. It is important that national leaders, when it comes to these consequential issues, they show face. It might sound like mixing apple with oranges here this afternoon from my end, but you remember during the COVID, there was apprehension. World leaders, including the sitting president of the United States of America, Joe Biden, publicly before cameras administered a COVID vaccine. That is to allay the fears of the citizens that the apprehensions and the conspiracy being spilled out by other people to put it to rest. Samuel Doe, he was in the Oval Office when the last census and everything was conducted. That's another way the leader communicating and creating the credibility and validating the process. We lose on the two front. I don't know how many of you realize this. My analysts are standing by and I'm going to be breaking that in. There was a national holidays, which it was a great loss to the country to revenue. Census did not go ahead as anticipated. Farmers, those who wanted to go out there to fend for themselves, they were home. So we lose on two fronts. There's a danger in calling for national holidays because there's a loss in the economy of already fragile economy. Ghana in the last time census 2021, after that, they were able to get a sense. The populations went out to 30.8 million people in Ghana. That gives a complete comprehensive review of the citizens, the people of Ghana. They didn't even start that. And they realized from 2010, there was a growth in the country's populations and that increased to 6.1 million people. You see why it's so important? Because you might be living from one end to another end, and that's how government allot or appropriate programs and fundings. That is why it is so important. And guess what? One of the cities that overpopulated or grew significantly in the 7 decades after that was Accra. Greater Accra grew significantly. According to the report, let me just do here. According to the report, the census chief, Professor Samuel Ono, announced that. And that's why it's so important, it's so crucial that census are conducted and confined with the constitutions of the land in order for national governments to get an update. Based on that report, GSS released Ghana that about 400,000 will be more added. So you see how it's been breaking into segments. So the growth of the women after that period of time rise significantly and the men decrease. They didn't just want to do that. It was broken down into percentage, 50.7% growth in the women and 49.3% in men. It is important that we conduct these censuses. But what is the way forward? Let me bring in our senior analysts. They are standing by across country. Let me go to Atlanta, Georgia, where Amos George is standing by. I will be breaking Amos George here. Amos George, good morning from your end. You know, this change in time here is still kind of like driving me here. Let me see here. Okay, let me get this one off the radar here. Let me go to Twin City, Minneapolis, where our senior contributors and scholars, Sister Goya, is a senior contributor of the Liberia Public Radio, but support the candidacy of Councilor Tiawan Gonglo. Is in the house. Let's see here this evening here, the fallout of this year. And the second part, the second portion would be, we are hearing, we saw that yesterday. The ruling establishments launched a dollar rally to solidify their political grip. Unlike the last time around, people went in drove to see. So what is going on here? What is the fallout? Gentlemen, happy Sunday. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. So, and good morning, Mr. Sisi.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, okay. News is what is happening concurrently and simultaneously. The issue of this censor here, and I was just talking about you heard what I was saying with respect to Ghana to allow censor 2021. Professor Samuel, who was then the chief, and in fact, the country, the president, showcased the president, sitting president at the time, was also involved. That is to make sure, because that's the only thing you can do. Your horses, our own Dr. Toto the other day, his location changed. He didn't register, so he went to go vote. What happens? He did not participate in the process. Judy Bryant did that, left, jumped on a plane, went to Harper, did not carry no identity. He was never registered and he never participated. The president left the country on the tour, which is good, but probably it would be a good idea to be in the Oval Office to exhibit, to showcase his registration, that will also encourage and motivate the citizens. We saw that with the COVID. Joe Biden, other world leaders on camera administered the vaccine to put to rest the apprehension about the conspiracy being spelled out here. But here we are. What can we do now? Let me start with you, Amos George.
Mr. So, as I say, the censor is very vital to the existence of the development of the country. If you are registered, it's not just counting people and you say that, oh no, that has to be broken down into segments. Women, children, men, all has to be broken down to in different groups to know the entire population of the country and to know which demographic is growing faster, to know where more funds need to be allocated and concentrated. So it's not just about election. And based on your population, you can make an appeal to other international organizations for assistance. But here's the thing. Okay, the president left the country. They say he'll be back before the census ends. I don't want to talk too much on that. But the dismal failure of the launching of this program, the dismal failure, they always say, oh, the president don't have to be everywhere. He doesn't have to be there for things to go on. But look at what happened. A proclamation was issued, declared as a holiday that everybody should stay home. And the aim of that proclamation was to give the leaders to opportunity. They said they were at least that day they were going to take to account 50% of the people. But that's something I started thinking on today. You in the rural area, we all come from the rural area. They would tell people to come from a certain village and come to a certain town. And the people can say, these are the people from this town, here are they. So imagine what happened on that day. The people have to lead a farming, other engagement, maybe the 1 hour or hour plus to go to the bigger town or village. So the people can come there to be enumerated. And all that just went away in a fiasco. Now, how do you get these people? Friday was a holiday. Saturday, weekend. Today is Sunday. Monday, before this, no authority from leaders, the chairman of the board, to even address the country on what happened on Friday and what is the way forward to assure the citizenry or the country that he will continue from Monday, everything will continue. No word from the chairman of the board, the elections bureau, nobody. That it comes to like there's no organization, there's no leadership in the country. It comes to the issue of pay. Are these people going to get their money tomorrow to start the process? And if so, what now you can say to the people to convince them to engage in this process? When I know my people, we know our people.
Okay.
Once you do that first opportunity and you blow it up, it becomes a problem.
Let me hold you there. Let me bring in Sissy. Hey, Sissy, good to bring you here. This is very much important. It's you heavily involved in politics here, and you know why census, registrations, and all of these things are put in place to make sure, because they want to make sure everyone voices and people, the government have a pretty good idea, the count of its citizen. But here we are. Do we still have that momentum? Do we still, what is the guarantee, even though it was postponed? I really want that to be done. We saw the information from the Ghana Census Bureaus, how everything is being captured and being broken down, give people a good sense of where you see your regions is growing. For example, they went on to say the Ashanti regions has been heavily been populated after the seventh decade with that. So everything up to current. Who what is the explanation can we provide to ordinary Liberians, those that waited patiently because they wanted to be census? It's not done in a snapshot. You have to be physically present to have that sort of count to register. It reminds me when I was in refugee camp, when Red Cross coming those days, Camp Waterloo, everybody, you're not going to tell them, say, you're going, the palm tree, they call it banga. You can't tell them, say, you're going banga farm, my wife or my children, banga. You have to be physically present so as to know it, because that's how UNHCR are going to portion ration for the people. Here we are.
So, good morning, everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, Liberia. The one thing first, the one caveat I want to strike is that census is not a one-day event. It is set up for weeks to go on. I'm saying this because even though I don't support the current government, the conversation about the president being out of the country, I think the president gave, I hope, the listing of one of the Liberians that were traveling with him. So let's just have access to that. If there's anything, they can add him up. We all know we have a president named George Manawia, and there's no way we're going to count people without counting George Manawia, even if he's out of the country, right? But the president is going to be back, so let's give him that. However, having said that, though, in a very serious democracy, when the president saw what has been building up that were leading to what came to light on the national holiday declared for the census, which was a failure, an abject failure, and it was not something that happened overnight. We saw people protesting the enumerators. We heard countless people, even us on this network, have been sounding their alarm bell for a long time that this was heading into a crisis. I think the president should have, as the chairleader in chief of the Republic of Liberia, should have at least done a pre-recorded audio to be played on ELBC and other radio stations if he is so busy with his international engagement that he cannot do a live conference. But at least do something that people would have put out there to say the chief, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the head of state of the Republic of Liberia, the father of the nation, the number one cheerleader of the republic, is saying to us, let's be patient. Even though the holiday did not go the way it went, but enjoy the rest that you had. We apologize for all of the disruption that Mr. George talked about and countless people have talked about in your daily life, in your daily struggle. But these are sacrifices we make as patriotic Liberians on behalf of our republic. It is very important to be counted. Please make sure that you are counted, because if you are not counted, the UNDP Human Development Office is going to make a projection on what they think how many people are in this country. And based on their projection is what they're going to determine how much money we get from UN agencies. And so please make sure that we are counted so that we can give an exact amount, so that we're not being shortchanged by international donors and international partners. But it's also important that we know, as your president, I want to know how many people live in Soniwe, so I can determine if we need one more clinic, one more maternity center in Soniwe. I want to know how many people live in Kawiaken and in Zolowo and other places, so that we can be able to determine whether the one high school in Saraya is enough, or whether we need to build more high schools, because now our youthful population, our school age population is rising. I looked forward. I searched. I went around the internet. I looked everywhere looking for that one speech from my president, His Excellency Dr. George Manawia. I didn't find it. For me, that was a disappointment. But I don't think it's late yet. I think the president, wherever he is right now, can walk and chew gum at the same time. He can be dealing with those international issues that he's gone, hopefully, to talk about the plight of Liberia and try to garner resources to bring back home to our people. He can be doing that, and I'm sure, I hope his advisors can tell him to find the time, the 30 minutes, to speak to his people, because we want to hear from him. Because this is unacceptable what's happening in Liberia. The issue of procurement and the issue of the operations of ledges is an abject failure, and it's a disappointment. But I'm still hoping that my president will speak to the nation and tell the nation to be to have a little bit more patience, to bear with it, because glitches do happen. We want to give it to them. I hate to quote Minister Samuel Tua, but glitches do happen. Now, where glitches happen, what is the communication that we send for? How do we explain to our people what happened and what is the way forward? I think that is what is missing, and I think whoever is in charge of that should be advising the president to take control. So I think Mr. So, you go, Mr. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So from what I'm hearing from you, Sese, this would have been a perfect time where the president, usually Liberian, we all whine, oh, the president is making this audio recording, but this time he's on an international engagement, and I'm quite. It's not in isolation with his trip. I believe every trip you and I, the president also has his own rendezvous. Plan his trip that he will go in is in line with it. That could have been the perfect time to have this sort of recording, pre-recorded message to kind of like outline and summarize the importance of this. That did not happen. So that also brings into questions the handlers and those who are managing the public relation aspect of their day-to-day activities of the president or the chief of staff, the presidential press secretary, and cabinet ministers. That did not happen.
So I still think this is still an opportunity. This is an opportunity for the president to stay sure that even though I'm out of the country, I'm still in touch with what's happening in the country. Even though he didn't have a pre-recorded message for the Liberian people, but showing the president in his presidency right now, wherever he's at, right? Even if he's on a plane ride right now, to just get a video clip of the president on the plane ride in his private jet with his people saying, look, I'm taking time away wherever I'm at right now.
Why do you have to add? Why are you adding private jet?
No, I'm not. No, but the president does not travel on a. I mean, I would not expect my president for his security to travel on a commercial jet. That is not acceptable. I mean, for me. So I'm not saying that to be flippant. I'm saying that to say he is the president of the Republic of Liberia. It would be a constitutional crisis if, God forbid, anything were to happen to him while traveling on a commercial jet liner. So I'm not saying that just for him. Any president of the Republic ought to travel on a private jet. Having said that, though, the point I was trying to make was that even if he's in a motorcade right now on the ground in some country, to just show the president speaking for 5 minutes, and my people, we here, we came to talk for our country, we came to, it doesn't have to be eloquent, people PhD dissecting. No, he talked to the common people and said, my people, we here, we came to the other player, we came to look for a way to bring money and bring resources and events to our country. But we understand to count our people is very important. Our people need to be counted. We got to make sure we know how many people living in our country and how to divide the money and the resources, whether we build more hospital, more clinic, or bring in more police department to the other area and thing. So we hear what happened, like, bro, we're not happy with it. We hear that the county didn't go on right. We sorry. We beg you. We're working to fix it. It's simple for me. I will applaud the president for doing that, for taking time off from his busy schedule right now to just address that issue and continue going on to do what he's doing. But like you said, his handlers are not serving the Republic right. Just like McGill was not serving the Republic right in the office of the president. The handlers around the presidents are not serving the Republic right.
Amos Josh?
Yeah, let me say this. Sister, maybe you'll get a late check from CDC today. Maybe they will send you a late check. When they say make sure the people say, make sure don't forget about me. Okay? Now I will tell you. When you get a late check, make sure you don't forget about me because you're brother. Let me say this. Sister, how many times you ever saw George Weah apologize? How many times you ever saw George Weah to say, okay, apology too big, but my government take responsibility maybe in that form? Never. Now,
is it fair to signal only the president? What about the politicians overall? Do they apologize in Liberia?
Hold on now. Mr. So, we're not talking about that politician on stage now. That's a different issue.
No, but there is a pattern, there's a tradition here. I'm not in defense, but let us just be, I'll give you a chance. Let's be a little bit fair. Okay, go ahead.
Before, I think I update apology, I take responsibility for something. But the job we have government never taking responsibility for anything. Secondly, says they say, okay, there were glitches. But where were the Minister of Finance after this glitch? They glitched the entire system. That means it was done. But it was not glitches, says it. There's no money to pay the people. How can you say that glitches? No money to pay the people. If there were money and there's a system, there's an issue with the bank transferring money, that technology we can say, okay, that glitches. But once it did not go out, you must use all the area of the country on Facebook, 1 cent. These people did not receive 1 cent. So I don't know. That was maybe when you get a check from CDC, just give me my own little thing.
Let me put my mobile money number out there. So just in case. Look, never been in trouble. The point I'm trying to make here, though, Mr. George and Mr. Sue, was about the operational part, right? So there were glitches in even the deployment of people. The training did not go right. In fact, there were some people saying that they told them to show up to other centers other than where they were trained. And then when they got there, the leaders at those centers told them, no, you can't be here because you were not trained here. You got to go back. And then they had to reverse themselves and say, oh, by the way, don't go to where we sent you. Go back to where you got trained. So for me, those were the glitches I was talking about in operation. I was not talking about, that thing that's not working and talk about money business. It's not what I'm talking about. That's talking about the way things got laid out.
Hold on. Let him finish your point.
I was talking about the way things got laid out. There were glitches in administration, in procedure, even in procurement of resources. I mean, glitches is not just always about the way the computer works, right? We're talking about the way we think things are supposed to be, the way we coded the way things are supposed to be. In this case, in the managerial way of coding, and the way those things came out. The president expected, for example, that this thing was going to be smooth sailing, and so he went ahead and proclaimed a national holiday, which was smart, by the way, to make sure that our people stay home, but it didn't work out that way. So, however many glitches, there was something lost in translation from the coding, from the expectation to what came out as an output, and that's what I'm talking about, the glitch.
So, do you think? Okay, hold on 1 second, Mr. George. I will come to you because people to be held accountable based on what you're saying, which is, of course, it's a perfect analysis. These people that come into government, you and I, we work in places, we have responsibility, we have assignment. You, if you're a manager, there is a assigned task on your calendar on a specific date. You have to get certain things done. If those things are not done, you either get a write-off from your supervisor or your overboss, but they have to be done, or a follow-through will be making up. I seems to be hearing the president was misled, or the president was given a wrong impression, because I'm quite sure his top insider, he did tell them, look, I am traveling. And probably here, just for conversation purposes, how are we? Mr. Benevolent Dictator will say, okay, everything is okay. And here we come now at this point. So somebody must be held accountable. We can't just dash on because there was an assigned task. You as an instructor, your school administration expects you maybe from Monday to Wednesday. If you have your schedule those days, you should be in class. If for any reason you will not be there, they need to fill in that gap. You can't leave your students just empty like that. And if you don't call no show, you know the consequences. And, so Samuel Tue, I didn't see him for the part that I listened to, try to give technicality and money was put into a wrong account and blah, blah, issue of being a Liberian. Those are baloney. I don't even buy into that, because those things, that's why you have provisions are made. You got to go through this, what is what, you know that. So that one is just a fallacy. It's just some sort of makeup to think that he can just cajole people and think that he's not taking the responsibility. So what should the president do?
And you're right. And I think this is where we don't expect the president, however smart he or she may be, to understand all facets of the government. So that's where you depend on handlers. And to your point, in the state of Minnesota, we take, for an example, a state test to determine how kids are progressing or if they're falling behind and what we need to do for schools. So the MCA, we get that schedule from the beginning of the year that says you're going to be taking MCA between this time to this time for this course, for this subject. Now the superintendent tells the principals, the building principals, to talk to their testing coordinators. Are we ready? Do we have the technology? Do we have all of the laptops ready? Are the laptops being cleaned? There's the tech department. Are we sure that we have enough laptops that work for that day? Do we have enough calculators? We take account of our calculators. How many of them need batteries? How many batteries? We buy those because the superintendent is telling the building principals are telling the testing coordinators, who are telling their tech department, and they're coming down to us, the math teachers and the science teachers that give these tests. Are you guys ready? Here's what we need to be done. If by that day the state shows up and we are not ready, heads are going to roll. Some of us will not have a job. right? Because that means that we have already misled the superintendent. The superintendent sent a message to the state that we are ready. And then come that day, we find out we're not ready. Well,
and to add up to that, before Amos George come in, considering the weather, now they're going to make sure whether the water condition there will not be no interruption. All of this. So it's a plan and strategic operations, not just only, teachers will be there. Okay, let's look at Mother Nature. Will it be snowing and will it be a storm? What the city proclamation going to be like?
And we look at what happened last year, and then we make corrections this year. We say, well, last year, here's what happened. We thought we had enough computers. Some kids came because we gave kids these computers. Some of them show up to school without a computer, they forgot them. So this year, we need to build a storage of computers for just in case, more computers, just in case those kids don't bring their computers, because we learned that from last year that some kids get on the buses in the morning, you know how our children are. They forget. If their head not attached to their body, they will leave it at home, right? And so they come without those. So we make corrections from that. Now I'm bringing back to Liberia to say there is the Toga Glewe Macintosh report from the 2008 census. It is a 23 pages, my man. You can read that thing just eating cornbread, sitting down by the sidewalk, right? You look at what they did, what went right, what didn't go right. What are those things we learned from? Since 2018, the CDC got back into power, right? They should have been able to know, look, we had 7,023 enumerators according to Toga Glewe Macintosh report. So do we need those 7,023 people, or do we need more? Do we need to retrain a new set, or do we need to just call those people and train them? They didn't do that. And so to the extent that the president depended on these people, which he should have, that is why he hired them, and they misled the president, because that was the reason the president depended on their guidance to declare a national holiday so that our people from everywhere can stay home, so that these enumerators will not have too much difficulty in counting these people. Now these people stay home, you slow down the economy, government lost money from revenue and taxes. So you slow down people eating, right? You affected the GDP for one day at minimum, right? And so now somebody has to be held responsible. But this is what happens when you employ people to lead a statistical department that don't have knowledge in statistics. Ledgers should be led by a statistician, right? And then you have people who do not understand procurement and procedure leading this kind of trust agencies. You have one job in your entire 10 years time is to count people at ledgers, and you can't get that right even after being late since 2018. That's a problem. I think the president should fire some people, seriously.
Fire some people. On the other side will say, well, this is the opposition talking point here. But Mr. George,
this thing here, it is a spectacular failure and systematic failure on the part of the GOL of Liberia. There's no excuse. What is it said in our marking the gateway report? You are in a time that you're having some financial problem. All you should have done, go back to the 7,000 or 8,000 people and request them to come. Because while you're just be doing something like a short-term training, because these people were trained already. So even if you're going to add, you will not have to spend that much money and much time to train for people to get a refresher course to go to do the work. But you said no. You go back, you say you're recruiting people all over. That will take you longer time, more money. Then the worst thing, the people should have been paid $10 a day. They cut it down to $5. The people accepted it. Okay, that's a sacrifice. They accepted it. Then now, after the training, they can't get the pay. People don't have the right assignment. The tablet, the renter, I mean, this is sad. Can you imagine? Your duty is to count people to play with numbers. Why couldn't you order tablets, put that in your budget? Because when they finish, you come and store it. Have it kept. No. You go to Ghana to rent tablets. Did they do the analysis? Rent the tablet from Ghana Transportation and buy you a tablet which was much cheaper that you keep for future use. Okay. Let me give now. Okay, the renter. Then no data in the tablet. How you rent tablet and you expect people to go to the field? They don't have data. So the problem here is what was the structure? Since 2018, they took power. The process has been delayed 4 years. So what the people in our ministry, in our agency has been doing, it comes to the point. The technicians were now put in charge of the system. They didn't bring in the proper people. Excuse me, I don't know how old is he, but I don't know. I do not know. The guy there for, I think, technical services statistics is the guy who was trained. But it's something that's nothing. You don't hear that guy name. The guy who's supposed to be in charge of the whole data thing. You don't hear his name. It's nothing. Okay. Now, how you expect the system to go effective to run effective when you don't have the right people put in place? But you would have brought in maybe friends because the guys somebody there, they're playing football together. The director and somebody to it in the football jersey. But you don't run government on friendship.
Do you think on the basis of that, how you were brought into the system?
But CDC, the connection. You were not brought that he's competent. You were brought in because connection to Sametro, and Sametro is the ball. Why is Sametro cannot suspend the guy when he himself, Sametro, has said that this man took money?
But fair to say, towards their investigation is being carried out.
But
so why not we take down the face value?
No, there was investigation done before they moved the former director of the LACC.
He said he has not received that. Anyway, that's not going to be a talking point. So
so this is the point. Now, if there was glitches or delay, why the director of glitches or the board? I will leave the person all year. But why these people could not take to the microphone to address the nation, to say, hey, you know what happened? This is the plan, but we have some problem. So we could not start today. Monday, we're going to start. Or Tuesday, effectively, we're going to start. Everything will be appropriate. No word from anybody. That showed the arrogance of these people to the Liberian people, that they got no respect for them. No respect. And these people are being paid by the Liberian, the taxpayer dollar and dime. And you have been given responsibility. It's not fair what the Liberian people are asking you to do. You've been paid. You've been compensated for that job. So you can't just get up and say, it's my way, anything I do, what the people say. It is a complete insult to the intelligence of the people of Liberia. Let me just close on it. Then the president said, now put the icing on the cake. I don't know, the census will go for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So if the person will be by that time, okay. Saying he was not there, he gone to hustle on behalf of the Liberian people, I'll give it to him, fine. But I said, what is the message from the president? He in the country, he will do recording. That's not the best time you in the country. Why are you doing recording? When you order the country, that's when you're supposed to do the recording. And then we'll see, because you're not there. But the nature of this thing, you want to make sure to create that awareness to your people. So if there's a recording, I will say, okay, the president was not in the country. You don't expect him to be there and do it. Say he ordered the country. That's a message you send to the people. Nothing was done. So the biggest thing, we hear rule, no.
We're going to be getting to our. So, by the way, you can follow on Skype, both the Facebook, and we are live on Skype in Liberia Sister Network. Thank you so much. Our YouTube, Twitter, and our link in here. But yeah, it's a thing, and I know you guys are within the opposition, of course. That can be a good standing leg of the opposition to say, well, this is the ineptness of the government, incompetence, and all of that. But let's see where we can provide some free consultancy here. I'm not sure Sissy or either Amos Joyce can move in that direction, but for the good of our country, if you were a close person in the proximity to the presidents of all decisions or policy makers, what could be the next direction? It has happened. It has to be fixed. We have to get this going. Are we prepared for that? Or the house is divided. There are other people say, oh, we're not prepared, we not do this. But do we need to do that? I'm also hearing that Samuel Toure is chief of staff over 100 and some more thousand. I have to validate that information. I don't understand. What becomes of this community network? Why resources wasn't invested into this community network so that somebody in my own bond time BIE who sometimes got to go up the hill to get access to internet, but they do have a station in Town, something Town, Peace FM, local community station, and they could do this sort of public awareness. How many of those people in urban Liberia can go on Facebook and know what's going on, who cussing, who not cussing, and all of that. So something is not right here, Sissy.
So if I were in the powers, in the halls of the powers that be, and advising somebody, I think if I were advising a president here, won't go on right now. You see, look, before I even get to that point, here is the first thing I need to make. Here's the first comment I need to make. The reason people are emboldened in this current government to do worse or do less than is required of them is because they understand that the probability of them being persecuted or the probability of them being dismissed is very, very low. And so because of that, I take chances. It's just gambling. You would take chances based on the probability of the outcome. It's just statistics. But having said that, though, on a serious note, if you listen to what I've said here, is I've been preaching Liberia first. It's not about who I'm supporting. I said the president still has an opportunity to come out here and right this ship. It has happened. The census did not start effectively on the national holiday that was declared for it. That has happened. We can cry all about it. We can't fix it. This happened. It's the problem is how do we move forward? And for the life of me, we have a whole ministry set up just to propagate information in Liberia, the Ministry of Information. And we have a whole core of people just to propagate the message of the president, which is the Presidential Press Secretary Office. Everybody is quiet. Everybody is quiet. And so if I were advising a leader today, I would say to them, look, we come out, we own up to what's happened because there's no going around this. The only way you end this conversation, you cut it short, is to own up to it. My people, we err. We anticipated certain things. We based all of our projection on our anticipation, but we did not account for certain movement. And because of those certain movements we didn't account for, we came out short. We built this thing strong in a laboratory like engineers. We assume standard temperature pressure. We assume that all things will be held constant. When we brought it down to the outside world, the elements acted upon it. And we realized that certain things changed. So here is what we are going to do now. We're going to go back and we're going to fix this. Here is what we learned. And here is what we know we're short. These are the decisions we are making to fix those things. And to your point, Mr. So, Samuel Doe government, the late President Doe government, invested in community radios. That is the reason you have Radio Banga, we have Radio Vonjama, we have Radio Zwedru. When Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came to office and up to now, you have a proliferation of community radio stations. Why aren't they using those community radio stations?
And they are owned, additionally, they are owned by the same very actors, politicians, members of the parliaments. They all own those stuff. They all also have some share responsibility as well.
But even the independent ones, those community radios are available where ERBC cannot get to, right? You just talk about Total. There is a radio station that people listen to. So why aren't you using those radio stations? Besides that, in Montserrat County, I know that there are community leaders. Every community got a community chairman. I think they call it community chairman, right? Why aren't you using those community chairmen and chairladies? Why aren't you using in the hinterland? Why aren't you using the town chiefs? You have a Ministry of Internal Affairs that have access to these chiefs. Why aren't you using those town chiefs to propagate their message, right? So I think they have the resources. They are there. They are there by virtue of the community radio stations, the community leaders, the town chiefs, the clan chiefs, and those opinion leaders. The problem is they're not just using them. And so it's really difficult to try to advise people who got all of the resources, but just refuse to use the resources.
Refuse to use the resources. I don't know. So, Amos George.
Yeah, I know. Let me say this. One of the community presidents said this bull crap will never happen. So let me put it. The second thing is, look, what Sissy said, this is the mentality of our people. People don't take responsibility. A person, we are meant business, the first thing is to fire people immediately. So that can serve as a deterrent.
What would be the replacement of fire, if you will?
Mr. So are you saying 5 million people, nobody you can find to replace one?
I'm just asking if that's
no
replacement.
They
no
are
replacement. Just simply tell me.
They are competent people in Liberia. You have a democratic department at the University of Liberia. People have graduated from that department who has a degree. Even the chairman on the House of Representatives Committee, Yetin, they were sent to Ghana to do the democratic training there. I think so many of them left from Liberia, sent in there. You have a whole host of people in Liberia. So some of these jobs are technical jobs. You don't base it on partisanship. You want the country to move forward. Okay? But these guys are there, nobody can tell you anything about them, studying anything like statistic. I know anything like that. So how will you do it? The first, for me, the person should fire some people from that area. Let it go. Bring different people. The censor is a matter of
and bring ANC folks.
Look, he doesn't have to bring ANC. No, he doesn't have to bring ANC people. There are people. I'm sure there are people
I get pulling your leg, man.
Yeah, but I know. But I'm sure there are competent people.
Jonathan was so join us there now. They keep calling ANC.
Yeah. He's an ANC guy.
There are competent people within the CDC that maybe can better do that job than the present people who are there. He can bring them. He doesn't have to bring people from outside of the party structure. They want the election, so the party should benefit from it. But I'm saying that people should take responsibility of this kind of blunder. 4 years, you sat down there, you never did anything. The publicity asked for this thing here. These people are greedy. This is the reason. Because they don't want to invest in those community stations.
Yeah, 1 minute. Just carry on. I'll be
okay. They don't want to invest in those community stations. Those are the reason. Like in Total Town, you have a community radio station that the people can hear in my village. Whereas there's a station that the people can hear as far as in my village from behind Total Town. Banga, you got 3 or 4 radio stations there that cover some part of Lofa, Paso, Nima. Nima can hold out a radio station. Why this one did not invest the money for publicity, for education purposes? Get some jingles. Play the jingle to create awareness, maybe in the local dialect or banana, whatever. Do it. How much you going to pay these people? How much you going to pay this station or these people to do these short jingles and things? How much you going to pay them? But they refuse to do it. Because why? Few group of people just want that money. The Ministry of Information, what role did they play in this thing here? In fact, what is the Ministry? The Ministry of Information is there already. Yeah, the people striking tomorrow, they can go on strike. They all wear black for the pay. People in the Ministry of Information making less than $50 in Liberia.
But Mr. George, I think the issue is even more pronounced when you think about we have networks like ours that we give for free for these government propagandists to come on here and just talk to the Liberian people about the importance of the census and why they should be counted. Minister Samuel Twe was on Spoon. He spent forever trying to dodge questions about how much money the president is taking and the issue of the $160,000 and all that stuff. Not once did he talk about why it's important for the people to be counted.
No.
So you have all of these networks that these people can show up for relatively cheap or free in our case. You have the ELBC. You have all of these things. Again, the problem is, like I keep saying, is the culture of impunity. The culture of impunity is what allows people to understand and to accept that they can do the bare minimum and there are no consequence. And that's why when some of us talk about the likes of Tiawan Gonglo running, and we're saying the rule of law have to be very, very important. When you start to apply the rule of law, when you start to tell people that you can be my friend, but you cannot serve in my government, you do not enjoy my confidence to serve in my government. When you understand stuff like that, then you run a government. Look, I like one of my boys, you always write on Facebook, he said, don't ever hire somebody that you cannot fire. That is a basic rule in any school you go to for leadership. Don't hire people you can't fire. If you're my friend and I know you are incompetent, I'll give you money to do business. When you lose my money, that one a family talk and talk about it. But if I put you in government where I know I'll be afraid to fire you and you are failing the Liberian people, now you're not just losing my money alone, you're losing the money of about 5 million other people. You're taking away from the mouths of these babies and these children, right? Then that becomes a problem. And I don't think people have understood the great importance of the census. In Lofa County, if you were to get sick that requires hospitalization, you either go to Vonjama to Talawian Hospital if you're looking for, or you go to Zozo, to current hospital that is understaffed, right? And so when you count people in Lofa and you find out that there are a lot more people of ages between, say, birth to 10, and you're looking at people of the elderly, and you're saying, well, we have a lot more older people in Lofa County. Then as a government, you can go to UNDP, you can go to USAID, you can come to the US government in December with that data in hand when you meet with Joe Biden and say, yo, here is what we have. Our census shows that our people are aging faster, and we have a very young population. We need more maternity health. We need more pediatricians. Can you help us invest in AM WRT program to train pediatricians? Because we know a lot of our population are younger. Here is the data. We need you to please help us to give us expertise on how do we deal with the social services for our elderly, because our people are growing, are aging very, very faster. A vast majority of our population is older, based on, here's our census. So you are coming to meet with the likes of Joe Biden. You are going to the UN to meet with people. You're talking to USAID. You're talking to other governments and saying, look, here is our data. And here is why we think we need more hospitals. Here is why we think we need more universities. We need one university in Lofa County. We only have one community college. Here is why we say that there are a lot of people of college age in Lofa County. They only have a community college, right? So you can use the data to even ask for more help, and people that you are asking for help will understand that you are speaking logic. This is why we are supporting the candidacy of folks like Tewan Gonglo, because we understand that you will take the data seriously and you present the data. Don't come beg me and say, my man, please help me. I need more money for food. Then I say, how many children you got in your house that you need money for food? You say, Papa, me, I don't know, but me and my family will hungry. Well, if I don't know how many children you got in your house, I don't know if I should give you one cup of rice or give you one bag of rice. And that is the point we're making here.
Yeah, and that's quite correct. Taking the review of Ghana census, we found out that the city, and I can guess Monrovia is the same way, looking at how the city is overcrowded. Ghana too, it rise up to 4 million plus from the last one. That was a significant, and it went back in the rural area. But before we go here, you want to mention anything before we pivot yet, George?
Yeah, and this is the thing. The town I come from, right now, I got about close to 400 person there. It wasn't like that 5 years ago, because last time I know some numbers and think to look at something. They don't give me like almost 400 person. Now, but if someone gets seriously sick, you have to use about almost 75 miles to go to Phoebe. And beside that, they got other towns that are almost of the similar size. You don't have no data. How can you convince the international community to give you money? Look at the MCC report that came out last time. Education, zero. Education, very poor. How can you convince people that I need no more money because this is the population that we have? These are the things the census is needed for. But
okay.
if you don't have good leadership, this is what happens. And this is why we say we want people like Alexander Cummings, because people who know the data will make a case for the
there's a divided role at this point.
So,
since you're talking about Goyan, you're talking about Cummings.
Yeah, but I mean, those are our people we support, and we know that they are competent and capable of doing the work. So I will go to George Weah when they can't deliver. Why should I go to George Weah when they can't deliver?
Talk about Papi Boaka Simona. Eh, you pa.
No, forget it again. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, the thing is now, they cannot lead the bed already because he said he wants to promote you as VP. so I'll commend him for that.
So the two Papi they control the network. They Papi and the Liberal, they quit to take things to the left.
The old people, they hard to deal with. Because when you go too hard and say the children,
I'm not even about to write anything. I'm not even about to write anything. The front page, they carry the thing. I'm not there.
All right. We can go without talking that there's a big political twist unlike what we saw 2017. The ruling establishment launched what they call a rally rally, or whatever it is, and then there's a hook on it. One of the frontrunners who represented Fala yesterday said that base special taxation is being imposed on members of the who are officials of the CDC. He was specific, Chairman Molu. You need to come over. You got to pay your $5,000, and you will be paying it today, according to him yesterday. Now, unlike 2017, we saw people moving in droves at their own volitions, taking out, carrying their T-shirts, giving whatever support. But there is a twist in this one here. What is lacking? Is it a wrong thing for people to pay, first of all, to pay their due? For you, Amos George, to pay if you support ANC? Is it wrong when ANC comes out and says, well, Amos George has been talking for us here a lot. He needs to be paying. This is what he's supposed to be paying in order to sustain the party.
Oh no, that is a fair game. Because anything you put your mouth in, you're supposed to financially support it. I mean, because the institution has to survive. And it can only survive by financial support to keep it running. So I don't have a problem with it. But what I have a problem with is that the drum of people they have before, the volunteers, that's the problem now. So you can see there is a failure. There's a plan with the CDC-led government. As we speak, some people are not taking pay 3 months in Liberia. This is the government for change and hope. Is that a phrase for hope and change and hope, or hope or change, whatever? This is the government now. People in Liberia who work in the public in public service, some of them are not taking pay 2-3 months. People making under $50. When any time, these people are making $200-300. The government that came for the poor people are now making under $50. Can you imagine that? And these are the people who claim to say, I like you. You look like me. I look like you. These are the indigenous people who said that the past government was doing everything wrong. So we are coming to rescue our country from the hands of the Congo people.
Do you agree with that at the time?
Eh?
Do you agree then?
Mr. So I was in Liberia 2017. I spent 3 months in Liberia.
I'm asking, do you agree with them at the time when they were making that
I agree with them. I agree with them. When I know these people, they were determined to take the country into the hole. I was there asking people, why you want to vote for George Weah? And then I would agree with these people. When I saw the people already, I had seen their footprint. One mobile there in that country. One time I get dead in that country, that will give me hope to say, you know what happened? I can take a bet on these people. None of them. The George Weah man. Did he ever build a toilet in Clarendon?
Okay, so Sese, you are politicians, you participated in major elections, all of that. When you see a political institution, I assume you're a Democrat or whatever, coming out now, I know it sounds sort of ridiculous. Why would you want to compare this here? But there is a change moving goalposts here. We didn't see that happening. And I mean, time has evolved, fair to mention. But when you see that happening, you as a politician, you are contested for offices and all of that. For the party to come out, minister, junior minister, director, and it's been the portion, it's been the rations as to how much to pay. When you see that happen, and we try to compare notes of the overwhelming support of the party at the time and seeing what is unfolding now, what does that suggest to you?
So you rightly stated, I'm deeply involved in American politics here. And as a matter of fact, just this morning, I sent $100 to the Raphael Warnock campaign. And by the way, Mr. George, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia before the end of November. We are coming there to campaign for Raphael Warnock, and we're coming to Dornock. As a Democrat,
just give me a call.
That's how much I put. Last time I was there for Stacey Abrams, the last election. And so I don't see anything wrong with people being asked to fund an ideology that they believe in. However, if this is contingent upon them keeping their ministerial or directorial positions, if it violates the Constitution, then I will have a problem with that. If you're doing a pay-to-play scheme, then I have a problem with that. Now, having said that, and looking at this as a political strategist, I would say, number one, it's really difficult for a government sitting when there is mass inflation, high inflation and massive unemployment and underemployment in a country to still have the enthusiasm of the people to give you money. So that happens all over the world. It's not unique to the CDC alone. It is even more pronounced for the CDC, however, because when they came with their pro-poor policy, the pro-poor agenda, where they were harmonizing the salaries of government employees, and they lowered those people's salaries, and then added upon that more requirements, like for example, this hodgepodge of healthcare that is not throughout the entire government. It's in certain ministries, certain agencies where people were kind of cajoled into signing up for healthcare. So you make less money, now you got to pay more out of the less money you make. I think it makes it difficult for people to want to give you money. And so as an opposition strategist, I see this and say that I smell blood in the water as a shark. The CDC is bleeding in the water. This is where I keep saying that we in the opposition, especially, and I like my guy Tiawan, he's been talking about these issues and stuff, but it has to be more. I listened to Alexander Benedict Cummings this morning in Monserrato. He was speaking on the same issue. It has to be more. We have to talk to people about the pocketbook issue every day. Why would a government cut your salary from $100 to $50 and say you need to carry health care for another $20? Now you carry $30 home. And so you're making $1 a day when it costs you more than $1 a day just to transport yourself. And this government is saying that they are pro-poor. I do agree with their mantra. Hope for change, change for hope, whatever. The change came. The hope just didn't come. The change came when they brought in a bunch of kleptomaniacs into the government, right? So this government has become a cesspool of corrupt people, and it's crystallizing. But they will be surprised by the Liberian people come 2023 when they are booted out of office, not because they didn't have the ability to do the work, but because they refuse within themselves to do the work for the Liberian people. Basic example, counting human beings. That has to be very easy. Since 2018, the Constitution says we should have done it in 2018. They didn't do it. The people were kind to them and said, we will wait. We waited since 2018, and up to now, you tell us about glitches, and you are waiting to talk about the president travel, but you can't tell how much money is in one leg of the president travel. You're waiting to tell us that somebody's taking 160,000 Liberian dollar or US dollar, whatever it is, when you know you pay that person to consult for the place that they work. How does that make sense? So for me, it comes back to the culture of impunity. We have had situations where the Anti-Corruption Commission has indicted people, have come out with recommendations, and the president on radio went against the indictment of the commission for his Minister of Agriculture, poison the process of accountability, right? And so other people sit at home and say, well, if the president can do it for that, how about me? And so the culture of impunity, and that's what the learned counselor Gonglo keep talking about. This is the one guy who prosecuted a former president. And so we understand that you will have to set the stage. Mr. President, Dr. George Weah, the care got to eat baby. You got to eat some of your children and to show to the Liberian people that the George Weah that we knew, the George Weah who delivered Liberia's pride when we're in war. The George Weah who allow us to change the narrative that we could see our people dying, but we could go to video clubs and sit down in Zinc Ranch video club to watch you mesmerize the whole globe. We still believe that George Weah, inside you, that George Weah still lives. Inside you, that George Weah who sacrificed your resources for Liberia when we had George Weah 11. Still flying people out to play for the Republic. That George Weah still lives somewhere inside you. That George Weah, that patriotic George Weah, who some of us ran behind your limousine when you brought that bottom to all to Liberia. We ran behind your limousine, George Weah. We understand that George Weah still lives somewhere inside you. You need to get in touch with that George Weah, Mr. President.
So now the $1 million question is, you guys from the opposition, does the opposition have the willpower? You are making a perfect argument here, been very illustrative, pointing out the wrongs, what they could do. Does the opposition have the willpower? Do they have folks that will communicate directly to illustrate, to pinpoint these issues with the electors, to say, hey, this is the reason why you shouldn't elect, you shouldn't give this government a second chance. Yeah, what we can do it. I'm not sure whether that conversation has been extensive, if they have been doing it, what has been done in a civil context, and what has been widespread as well. Does the opposition have that will to change their narrative? Because here in this issue here, and this is where I'm coming, Mr. Joe. This issue here, when election, there are specific things people vote for, right? Even when they are giving an exit poll, things that matters in the different cities and constituents. Some people will say, well, health. Other people will say, but overall is the economy. People got to get food on their table. Who can create that narrative? Who can be a perfect interpreter of that? To say, look, yes, this vote is coming. It's not just only because Alexander Comey, because I'm Joseph Boyka, but point to this thing to be more illustrated, to empathize and not to be in the sort of political correctness tone. That's what I'm not hearing. That's what I'm hearing, Mike. Oh, the president wearing this 10,000 shoe. That's nonsense. That's bullshit. I don't. The policy, your differences and things that you're going to deliver, what you're going to invest into education, the healthcare, infrastructure, the broadband and all of that. We're not hearing all of those things yet. We're not hearing it.
Mr. So that's
is the opposition capable of interpreting to perfect this sort of conversations into reality, to be more illustrative?
Yes, but let me admit, my party is talking about it's
Which
not being
party?
The ANC is not being forceful. I have said it before, and I want the party to be more forceful on this issue. But yeah, what I have to say, Mr. So, the issue of Liberia, the issue that affecting Lofa County is the same issue that affecting Grand Gideon. The entire country, I will tell you this, you went there. Since I've been there, I've been there. The same suffering the people in bombing receiving is the same suffering the people in Bunker they're receiving. Same thing to Lofa. It's not like America to say, you know what happened? Georgia, employment rate is maybe 2.70%. Minnesota, maybe 4%. Just from no. Everything is on the same scale. The infrastructure, school, hospital, roads, is the same situation in Grand Gilead, Maryland, Grand Crew, the same situation. So this is a very easy message for our people, the opposition, to reinforce, and you have to constantly remind the voters. It's not one day, I get one day, two more, or nothing. No, it's everyday thing, because you got to continue to remind these people of the suffering and the way out. So I would say that the ANC has not been forceful. They try, but the opposition need to do more in general. Because
what is lacking within the ANC?
I'm from outside. I'm not seeing the enforcement of the popular, the information aspect of what is taking place in the country. I just want to see more of that coming up. Talk, engaging the voter directly. It's
just okay. For most of the time, we dump all of these things. Say president, the hair. Is your party standard bearer? Is he forceful? Is he communicating? Is he connecting? Because this is what the liberal use here. The liberal here in the liberal warrior say he's not connected. He's not connected. That is a political statement being placed on him. Is he connected?
I know today I didn't go to church and he went to church, so he will pray for us. But here's the thing here. Yes, the people, what we expect from some of our political leaders is not forthcoming. And I have said this thing. We want to build an institution. So it is not coming, should not be the only person in the party to speak on this issue. Look at the Democrat here, because I'm a Dutch, I always talk about the Democrat. You have surrogates that go on different network stations, pushing the message. And that was supposed to be happening in Liberia. Not only when the party chairman or the standby don't speak, then nobody can speak. No, take on the network, engage the people directly on behalf of the people. That's why I need it. And liberal again talk. Now two people now in Liberia that tell and is not coming. What work on this issue here? Because maybe I see Costa open the mafia, but Joe Parker he know where to be found. Only not the low for Primary, because Primary got the money. You want to stop the artists and other here. Now that the pay going because he said Primary got the money.
He's not going away yet now. Sissy.
They papi let the fire shots. Me, I will stay away from him. He ain't a liberal handle that one.
So because you gotta go bunk on it. He said you want her to be fine.
No, I just say I will leave that alone. But on a serious note, though, before I start, where Primo you got your money from? By the way, that's a whole different composition for
from the government.
Okay, so people who don't go to government to get rich.
Yeah.
And this is what I would say. However, on a serious note, that serious politicians have been making these arguments, and even George Weah has been making this argument about the economy and about what is important. The problem is, however, what gains traction in our Liberian communication space, is not what people are saying intellectually. George Weah has said some stuff that is economic policy. Let's give him that. Samuel Tua, with all of the blabbering he does, sometimes make some economic policy that will say, well, here is what a PD is economically. But do we actually make that into news? No. What we make into news is the buffoonery, is the minutia, right? Those things that should not be elevated, that gets elevated. Like the president wearing the $10,000 shoes, right? Those are the things we elevate that should not be elevated. But I will tell you that Tiawan Gonglo has been speaking about the idea of decongesting the nation capital, not asking people, but giving an incentive for people to move back to the hinterland. And the way you do that is to create economic hubs in those hinterland. When companies are coming, you're giving them incentives, tax breaks. The further away they are from the capital, the more tax breaks they get. And so when you create these economic hubs in these counties, then people follow jobs, and people will follow those jobs. That's how you decongest the nation's capital. That is, just telling people, oh, people hungry in Monrovia, and then you flippantly tell them, say, go back and make rice farm. I say everybody was a rice farmer. It's a disrespect to people who have lived in Monrovia and got bachelor's degrees. And now you're telling that person that spent a lot of money going to AMU, going to UMU, these private universities and colleges that charge a lot of money, now go back to the hinterland and make farm. It's a disrespect. But create the economic hub for these people to go back and work in those counties, in those places. So when you talk about trying to slow down the urban, the rural-urban migration, a lot of people leaving Lofa County going to Monrovia. Well, the reason for that, one of the major reasons for that could be education, right? If we got only one community college in the whole Lofa County, one of the most populous counties in the nation, you only have the access to an associate degree. But if I want to be a lawyer, if I want to be an engineer, if I want to be a teacher, I cannot live in Lofa County and actualize that dream. I have to leave Lofa County to go to Monrovia, to go to school to become a lawyer. I have to leave Lofa County to go to Monrovia to become an engineer. So if you open branches of the University of Liberia, like we do here in Minnesota, We have the University of Minnesota Twin City campus, University of Minnesota Morris, University of Minnesota everywhere. So when you have branches of the University of Liberia in Lofa County, University of Liberia in Bon County, University of Liberia in Grand Juliet County, then you check that rural urban migration so that people don't have to leave the farms where they're supposed to be helping their parents and grandparents during the weekend to make farm to come to Monrovia. If you have one hospital in Lofa County, one functional government hospital, Tadawaya in Vonjama, and the road situation is bad, then one of the reasons why I will move to the nation capital or move to Banga is because Phoebe is closer, is because the road network is easier for me to travel to carry my sick person. My father just retired in the United States. He built a home in Zolowo, in our hometown. And I told him, you will not live in Zolowo, because when you get sick in Zolowo, in order for you to get vehicle to transport you from Zolowo to Zozo and to Tadawaya in Vonjama, you might die on the way. Or to even get you to Phoebe, you might die on the way. I said, that is not going to happen. You are going to live in Monrovia, because it will be easier for me to be able to call people that can take you to any one of the many hospitals in Monrovia. But my father would love to live in Zolowo in the interior, where he will have access to live the way he lived before he was younger. So when we're talking about changing the way Liberia works, when we talk about changing the way government is supposed to work, Tiawan Gonglo has the plan. He's been talking about it, but it doesn't gain traction because he's not talking about the minutia. He's not talking about the president personally, which is what people like to listen to. And I think we have to do better. We have to do different. We have to educate our people differently, and we have to educate them better.
Okay, time is already running out here, and we in the media industry, we are most also responsible to drive this narrative here. Then that comes to the question, that could be another conversation here. Is the media doing enough in Liberia to look at these critical issues that are burning issues, things that were issues that will put family food on the table for the family? Are we looking at those issues, or just a little bit funny thing that doesn't worth news to even pay a dime before to do a public relation? Unfortunately, that's what happened. And because of the proliferations of these outlets, you can't even control them, but they have been very successful to change the narrative as well. So with that said, what are we taking home today?
Well, let me say, on the censor, it's not yet late. And I want people to understand, our fellow Liberians to understand, that what we're saying here, some of us, we are not against the census. It's just the manner and form, the procedure that is being managed. But it is very vital that every Liberian being counted, because it's in the interest of the country. It's not because of George Weah or Samuel Tuwe. No, it's for the country. Because one way or another, the country will intend to benefit, and that is the citizenry of the country. So for me, I will tell people, if the government come, eventually will have to happen. But if they come around, community leader, stakeholder, private, those people will all help to make sure that people are accounted, because this is the only way we can progress as a nation. When the international community don't know who are the population of the country, what is it, you will not get anything. You either be while you unaccounted, and that can cause problem for us. So I want to admonish everybody that whenever the government decides next week or week after next, let us all cooperate and make sure people are accounted at the end of the day, because it's all for the country itself. So that would be my takeaway home. And the CDC government, they can go and tax the people $10,000 when the ordinary person making only $50 a month. That's a $30, because now they got Social Security. What kind of tax they put there? They take $20 from $50. This is insane in our country. We talk about people. This government talk about for the people. Samuel Tuwe came and said he was doing harmonization, and today there are people in Liberia in the same ministry and thing are not making the same amount, doing the same job. The people talking about it. So what was this harmonization about? It was to come and scratulate the poor people. That's what the objective of it, because they still make the money. President taking $2,000 a day for Badan.
So
Let's start
quickly
now.
here, let me ask you, with your little attachment with the ANC, who are their financials? Members, they pay there or what?
Oh yeah, people pay. The people during the rally, I think the people pay.
Do you also support ANC financially?
Yeah, not regularly, but I couldn't build. If I have it, I will do it. But the point is, I'm not against citizens raising money. That they have an institution that got a meeting. So I'm not against that. But I'm
So
saying,
then why would you say they want tax their people 10,000?
oh yeah, I mean that's a prerogative. I don't know how much. I know the DNC chairman makes some money here. He's not working free.
All right.
So Molo makes the CDC pay him. The government, the party pay him. So it is a 5,000.
Okay, Mr. Goya, what's your final remark? Your final statement. Take on.
So my take on 2 things. Number one, I don't know why we're making much about CDC the way they fund themselves. 11 million they should have collected there as an offering at fucking clone church. It really doesn't matter. But having said that, though, on a serious note, census are done every 10 years. Census are not about the president in power or the political party in power. If George Weah were to win a second term, he will be leaving office with the numbers that the census that we did still being used to affect politics for the next government that come after George Weah. And so, to whatever influence I have in Liberia, whoever is listening to us, I understand that government asking you to stay home one day to conduct a census and the census not happening is deeply frustrating. I get it. I would be frustrated too. But this is way more important than a one-day inconvenience if you are not counted. For a one-day inconvenience, if you refuse to be counted, you are signing up for 10 years of inconvenience. So remember that. The government inconvenienced you one day and you are going to get upset and say, I'm not going to get counted. That means you are saying, you inconvenienced me one day. I'm going to inconvenience myself and my children and my grandchildren for 10 years. And so imagine if you are 18 years old right now and you refuse to be counted. The next time we count you, you will be 28. And we know chances are you will already have children before that time. And so then you are refusing to even have your children benefit. And so my plea to everybody out there as a numbers person and as a Liberian is make sure you get counted. We know the government is not everything to everybody. This is not a CDC thing. This is not an ANC thing. This is not a Unity Party thing. When they count you, they're not going to ask you for your political affiliations. When the government use that data to build clinics and build hospitals and build schools, the doctors and the nurses are not going to ask you whether you're opposition or you are in position before they help you. So make sure you get counted. One more day of inconvenience for you getting counted is way better than 10 years of inconvenience of policy, government policies that would not adequately reflect the population and the community in which you live. So my one thing I got to say is we Liberian people, we forgive people. We be passing around saying, let's forgive Prince Johnson then for all the killing they did. We can forgive the president and the current government for the mistake they have made with the census, and we can move on as a people to make sure we get counted. Please get out there, get counted, and be proactive. Community leaders, community chairmen, and other people, don't wait for the government to come to you because chances are they might not come to you. But you are the community chairman for a reason. You were elected by your people to lead them. So in those local places where you got community chairmen, and community chair ladies, I'm urging you to take the first stand. Start to talk to your people about the importance of being counted. So when counting time comes, you and your people can be counted. Because the number one hallmark of a leader in those local communities is to make sure that your people receive their due share. That's all I got to say.
So say Amos George, and your last part. That's what I like about you guys. I just can't do it without you. I think more or less this should be the work of, in fact, it's everybody, but I wish those who are in charge of the information could just articulate this. Yes, you will get mad. I'm not going there today. But see how you put it into context. Okay, get vest today. But guess what? You are doing it for yourself in the next 10 years. And who is going to get that infliction? Who's going to be inflicted? It is your very self. So compare one day to 10 years, if they give you that sort of choice, where will you go? Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time, and to our many viewers, the listeners, followers, your comments, your tweets. Thank you so much. This is how we're going to bring it to an end today, the Liberian War today. We want to say a big thank you to our sister network in Liberia, SCAR, for this relay and this major news content sharing. Hopefully, next week, we're going to have legendary Kai Gerald, an award journalist winner, to be here in his new memoir, The Liberty Hijack, devise us as a country, as a people. What? Amos George, you're going to be campaigning in it December 6th, runner?
Since I say you'll be here, maybe now we'll go, but I know
I'm asking you. Then he says, wait a minute.
They have not, I'm not close with it, that point to go, but I say, if Cesar come and don't need to go,
so which party are you? Are you for the Green Party or Libertarian or Democrat or Republican?
All my life.
Remember, legalize marijuana now party.
That Massachusetts.
I always support a Democrat. And since I can't recruit, my vote has been straight down by a Democrat. That's me.
Straight down. I'm just asking.
I'm telling you, straight down. That marijuana thing, offer it. That libertarian thing there, I offer it. That freedom, what they say, they want total freedom, I offer that marijuana thing there.
All right. So, since I keep a poster, I will learn. I think I will get a message from one of the tier one. I don't know where is he coming, so that we can arrange something.
Tier one is already here. I think he's in New York already. He'll be coming to Minnesota for the 26th, the weekend. But we will keep you all posted. He's already
yeah. I think I will get a message from one of the campaign folks yet. So we're gonna see. Yeah, we need to ask these people. We need to know what is doing well. I want to be.
Is Baga yet now?
No, Baka was supposed to come, but he did not come. The chairman of Unity Party, Reverend,
is there a insurrection going on within the Unity Party?
Reverend Dr. Luther is here. They had a town hall yesterday in Minnesota. That I think they had less than 50 people attend. But yeah, he's here. He's here.
Why he's there? I've been trying to get his number, but I don't know why the United Party people, why they shoot their people. People don't get them. It's just another protocol by itself.
What? They promote the get you promote you. Promote you, come on.
Do you have issue with Prince Moyu?
Yeah.
Wait, you haven't noticed that
I don't even know who you don't even have problem with on planet Earth. Gentlemen, have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.
Yeah.